Here, here.
John Howell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and it's a great pleasure to participate in this debate today, and I'm very happy to do so. There are a number of common themes that seem to be coming up. The first of these is that most people want to die in their own beds, and I tried to find some statistics on this before coming to this debate. And you can get a whole lot of statistics from the internet about this, but the figure that I came up with, that 70% of people, of us, want to die in our own beds. Yet 60% of people die in hospital. This was the big change, that the big difference that occurred there. So why is this? Is it a ridiculous aspiration that 70% of us want to die in our beds? Or do we need to be better at organising end-of-life care services? And the evidence from the Netherlands suggests that it is the latter. We need to be better at organising end-of-life care services. But in particular, there needs to be more emphasis on the social care aspect and the reorganisation of that and its delivery. What does this come down to in practice? What does it come down to in the way that we organise these things in practice? This issue came to the fore in my own constituency with the re-provision of a hospital in Henley, the Townlands Hospital. The essence of the re-provision is that a hospital will be re-provided with a greater range of services for people to access and a limited number of beds at the side of the hospital in a care home. The gap is being taken up by a system of what has come to be called ambulatory care, involving greater use of social care packages. Now, this follows a change in practice where the aim is to reduce the number of beds and keep people out of hospital for as long as possible. Of course.
My own father died at home, and I noticed in the government's report, the response, it says a priority is to ensure that families are kept in the loop, in the final days. But what we had an issue with, we didn't know it was his final days. And a nurse turned up in the last few days, on the last day actually, with an end-of-life care kit. In front of my father, said, "Here's the end-of-life care kit," and he died a few hours later. So would my honourable gentleman agree that we need to have better communication with those who want to die at home as well?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for making that point. What I would say on that is that, as many honourable members know, I recently lost my mother, and that contrary to what I've said, she died in hospital. But I have to say that the services that were provided to me for that were exemplary. We were taken into the thinking of the clinicians as her illness progressed. We were told exactly what would happen, and I think this led to a greater feeling of comfort with the whole of the process when she eventually died. And actually, I'm reconciled with the idea that it's what she wanted. So I think that what this comes down to is it comes back to fit into the idea of personal choice in this, where that is possible. In this case, it was not possible for the reasons of the illness, but in my honourable friend's case, I don't know whether that would have been possible or not, but it's something that needs to be borne in mind. And there are still those who locally cannot see that the best needs are served by reducing unnecessary admissions to hospital and moving out of hospital as soon as possible. Now, I've listened to the clinical advice, I've listened to the clinical evidence that this is the best way to go. That hospitals are, contrary to what they seem, are not necessarily healthy institutions, and that even a short stay reduces the ability of muscles to function and to have any quality of life. I spoke to the Alzheimer's Society about this, and the evidence was very clear. While admissions to hospital, or better still, to care homes, is at some stage inevitably going to be required, the best advice was to keep people out of hospital for as long as possible. And that was even in the case of people suffering from Alzheimer's. This is not just about providing services to those who need periodic treatment, particularly for end-of-life care, although this is absolutely important. This also demands a revolution in the way that social care is provided. I'm a great advocate of integrated social care and health, and I've heard from doctors about the way in which they decide on the services to be provided, that when somebody presents to them with whatever an illness it is, the choices are either a medical solution, either they can ship them off to hospital, or they can give them a prescription, or it's a social care solution that can be provided. And the feedback that I've had from doctors on this is that they don't have control over the social care aspect of this. They can't provide the services, and it is very difficult for individuals to be able to get those services, particularly if this occurs over a weekend. So we need this revolution for better control of social care by clinical commissioning groups. We need this revolution for the better use of providing medicine in the home, using, for example, internet services, as my honourable friend has already mentioned, which I think is a magnificent way to go. And we need this revolution for the timeliness of the provision of the services. I agree with my honourable friend from Poole that we need to work across organisations to get this right, including the charity sector. And if we do that, we can get a really integrated approach.